I think Fatih has left the meeting for some reason. Yeah, just wait until Fatih rejoins, which should be a few seconds, I would imagine. I've got more and more people joining. Excellent. Uh, can I just try to share my screen one more time while Dr. Fatia is going to join us, and then you can tell me if that works or not. Can you see the screen?
No. No.
It's very strange. I think if you could give Dr. Fatia like a few more minutes, that would be great. And before we start, I want to introduce you to Apurva, who is going to be our presenter for today. So she is a human experience designer at the UK National Innovation Centre for Aging. So we have worked together for a healthy aging app that we are working on. So we've been working together for at least 4 or 5 months now, Apurva, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, and then for being here and presenting such an interesting topic as well, especially because we seem to have a few technical errors at this point of time. So this might exact kind of webinar we need at this point of time.
Yeah. I think it could be because Fatia might be the host. So even if you're trying to share, there might be some issues.
I am actually the host. So that should not.
Okay. That's weird then.
Do you? I suppose we can start now, and then we can give the rest of the presentation at the end of the webinar. So do you want to share your screen now?
Yeah. Awesome. Just give me a moment. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yeah, it is.
Slide. Hello.
Yes, it's visible now.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Apurva Jain. I'm the Human Experience Designer, as Alosh mentioned, at National Innovation Center for Aging. First of all, a huge thanks to you, Alosh, for inviting me for this exciting opportunity. I'm really happy to have all the attendees today as I speak to you all about digital wisdom to empower older adults in Black and South Asian communities. So before I move on to the presentation, I'm just going to give you a bit of introduction about myself. So I'm from India and I moved to UK 2 years ago to explore a new culture. For people who are curious about my role, human experience designer in simpler terms means designing user experiences for apps. But in my work, I like to approach people not just as users, but humans. And in my current role, I've got blended responsibilities of a designer and also a researcher. So I'm designing all of these digital products and services, but I'm also conducting discovery workshops and usability testing sessions with our community. And I also provide some professional design consultation to businesses. And my work at Nika addresses digital experiences through intergenerational lens by tapping into people's behaviors, cultures as they age, and how that ultimately shapes all of these deeply fulfilling products and services. And I'm fortunate to be in a team of change makers around who are working with businesses around the world for the latest innovations. So coming on to today's agenda, I'm going to introduce about healthy aging and longevity. And then I'm going to talk a bit about the new older demographic. Then I'll talk about co-designing and what does disability really mean. Then I'll share an opportunity for all of you to join our voice community. Then I'll demystify usable, accessible, and inclusive design. And lastly, I'll share designing with care. So I've got some few questions to begin with. If you can use the chat box to respond to these answers, it would be really nice. So when do you think we get old? Just trying to... You could just give an estimate of what your perspective is. Okay. Oh, interesting.
Do you want numbers or?
It could be numbers. It could be even this. Like, I'm loving the responses. Continuously. I like that one. Sorry, I'm just going to switch back to my presentation. Okay, so only 35% of people over 75 said that they felt old. Well, if you don't feel old, you won't really live experiences or buy things for the old. Yeah. So next one, what's the total spending power of consumers of age 60 plus? This could be a guess, like, you could just give an estimate. Doesn't have to be a perfect answer. $20 billion. Nice. Any more guesses? Right, okay. So globally, the spending power of consumers age 60 plus will hit 15 trillion pounds by the end of decade. That just shows the sheer value that lies in this market. And so people are living longer. And here at National Innovation Center for Aging, we help businesses by providing intelligence to healthy aging and longevity economy. Intelligence is a lifelong process. So how do we leverage it? We do so by sustaining ongoing conversations between generations to co-design better cities, services, products, and experiences. And essentially, we help to develop what is needed and wanted for happier and healthier lives. As we say the Nika way, it's about adding life to years instead of adding years to life. So now I'm just going to let this video do the talking because it really explains the essence of the work we do.
We know the world's population is aging, and the longevity economy is a market which is expanding rapidly. Here in the North of Tyne region, we have unique assets in our national centres at the forefront of innovation, with cross-sector expertise to address the urgent need for healthier longevity, allowing us to live well for longer. At National Innovation Centre for Aging, we've got a game-changing programme under our Aging Intelligence approach, where innovation and technology can help promote longevity and citizen well-being through more responsive and data-enabled services in an equitable and cost-effective way. We call it the Internet of Caring Things. A network of connected devices and services with a clear mission to actively support caring for people, their physical and mental well-being, and what really matters to them, such as safety, security, sustainability, and connecting with their loved ones. Take Peter. His handmade kitchens are in demand, but facing increased competition. Thanks to our program, he learned how to add sensors throughout the countertops that help Helen live more independently despite her multiple conditions, and be more connected with her daughter, Claire, who lives away and is a carer herself. She really appreciates accurate information on her patients' routines. She wondered, what about adding a sensor to the cups my mum always uses? After attending a voice-led workshop, she suggested her idea to Marvin, who owns a pottery studio, and decided to transform his cups into smart ones. Marvin suggested that he'd like to add a different kind of sensor to his dog's drinking bowl, as he sometimes worries about his dog if he's working long hours. Now they are able to track whether users are drinking enough, assigning a hydration performance score. He was helped by Keith, the founder of Lowtech, whom he met thanks to Nika's Internet of Caring Things program. Peter, Ellen, Claire, Marvin, and Keith are just a handful of examples of people and businesses that we have enabled through our extensive citizen engagement. Through our program, we will empower citizens and support regional businesses to explore and engage with this new Internet of Caring Things market by engaging with businesses across the North of Tyne, supporting businesses through access to expertise within Nika and the Centre for Process Innovation, co-developing new products and services, and creating new jobs. Want to hear more about the program opportunities? Contact us at the email below or see us out and about the region at events. Our calendar of events is available on our website.
Awesome. So for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to talk about the things I learned from designing with older adults, and it's really important to emphasize with here and not for. So the first one is, at Nika, we are big at challenging the traditional ageism perspectives, as you've just seen, and we are trying to shift the focus of aging as being a distant concept to rather a process that starts the day we are born. So we are constantly redefining aging narratives and possible desired futures. For example, if I ask you all to think of an ideal care home setting and what that would look like, some of you might start thinking of a solution, but not necessarily for yourself, but maybe for somebody who's older to you. Because of the narrative in the society, we naturally tend to see older adults as a separate group. But that detachment isn't really the reality. Aging is more about the process, and it's not a barrier. So despite our increasing numbers, the world's still facing designs that are against the elderly. So even when we design things, they are mostly ugly devices that are like more medical and shouting out to the world that I'm old and I cannot function. But I believe we can do much better than that. So in the work I do, I like to challenge our own assumptions and reflect critically on the way we design technology. And so there's this new demographic emerging. The new older consumers are more diverse in needs, interests, and have got vibrant lifestyles. And as you can see, there is, sorry, just one second. Yeah, as you can see, there's 1.5 million of people over 60 who have some level of unmet needs in England, with a negative impact on their quality of life. One of our community members said that they really want to help everyone, especially older adults. We are living longer, not necessarily better, and we need to improve this. Another one said that as I get older, I worry about losing my independence, and I'm pleased to be involved in the development of products that enable me that independent life. So, which brings me to the second point, as I mentioned earlier, about designing with and not for the community. And I do so by following this approach called co-design. So the co here stands for community, which is essentially community-led design. And it's really important to understand that both community and designers are important in this process, but none of them have all the answers, which is why we bring them together. So designers engage with the citizens in this participatory approach and solve real-world problems. And there are key aspects to this approach. So the first one is elevating lived experiences by bringing as many seats to the table as possible by offering a safe space with no judgments. Second one, being in the gray, which is not gray hair, but it's just about embracing our willingness to be unclear when we start all of these discussions. Third one is learning through doing. So just practicing curiosity and trying things out. And last but not the least, which is my favorite, is valuing many perspectives, which is all about bringing diversity and understanding different and sometimes opposing views. All of this ensures that the products and services are more human-centered and inclusive at their core. And this is what you all can experience yourself from our very own Voice community, which is a thriving international community where people are eager to shape the latest innovations in the industry. And this is your opportunity to tell your story. So if you want to influence the future by becoming involved with us in co-designing these products and services, I would highly encourage you to find out more, scan this QR code and join our community. Because I think what I really like about today's attendees is the diversity we have here. And I think that's something we are lacking in our voice community right now. We don't have as much, we are not as much diverse, and we don't have as much age range, but that's where we are willing to go forward. So if this sounds like you, please have a look at this. I'm also gonna quickly share the link in the description box so that it's easier for people to check it later as well.
I think someone has shared it, Apurva. Chawisa has shared the link. Or is it not the same one?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So I think there's a link that has been shared initially by Chawisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Belle. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to my presentation then. Right, so now I'd like to highlight one of the definitions that really unlocked my thinking as a designer, which is World Health Organization. So disability was earlier termed as a personal health condition, but in 2001, it was redefined as mismatched human interaction. Now this, I believe, is a profound shift from the traditional perception of disability as a health condition outside of the quote unquote normal, whatever that is. But this then also puts responsibility on me as a designer to examine every choice I make to reduce those mismatched interactions for everybody and design products that are more simpler, that just makes life simpler and not more stressful. And with digital technologies moving more and more into public and learning environments, we all are experiencing exclusion in more ways than ever before. More specifically, digital exclusion. And about 15% of the world's population experience disabilities, which for some people might be a small number, but it's equal to 1 billion people. And that's almost the population of India. Like, it always surprises me. And so let's have a look at some examples. Online banks. So online banks are on the rise, but certain group of people still fear using online systems. This is due to digital literacy, but also people not being fully aware of how their data is being used. So even if companies are working towards advancing all of these technologies, it still excludes those group of people who are not comfortable using it. And same goes for NHS, where appointment booking is being switched to online, and many more of their services are becoming increasingly digital. So the need is really to explore and research more about people's relationship with technology and then address those gaps to minimize exclusion. And now that we have recognized exclusion, what is the real need? It is to design with care. And the three key ingredients for that, I actually like to call them 3 layers, because it just one by one, they add more depth to it. So the first one is usable design, which is just simply designing products that are easy to use. So for example, when you use an app, how easy it is to learn, how recognizable the functions are, how efficient just the whole process is, or simply how pleasing it is to use. But there's more depth to that in reality when it comes to design, which brings me to the second layer, which is accessible design, which is about designing to make it more available for users with different levels of ability who might struggle to interact with digital products due to their visual, auditory, or motor impairments. But I think we all face some or the other kind of exclusion. Like, for example, if you're out on a sunny day and you're not able to see the screen properly, which is covered in inclusive design. So it's about focusing on everyone to the greatest extent possible. Now, obviously, we cannot design for every single person on this planet, but it's really about how can you put your target audience and like design something with a wider range, which could also be about designing for people from different cultures, because we have all different realities and lived experiences. So again, another quiz round. So there are 3 people on the screen, as you can see. The first one is a person who's got upper and lower limb body dysfunction. The second one is a kid just with a temporary cast. The third one is a young mother with baby holding in a hand. Which one out of these three do you think will be supported through an accessible design? You could just write in the chat box 1, 2, or 3.
So I want to give others, because we have some of us who are using their phones. You can unmute, you can raise your hand, and we'll allow you to talk, if that helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bolanle?
Option 1, I think.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any guesses? Just a wild guess.
It's a tricky one, Apurva.
That was the intention. Alosh, would you like to make a guess?
I was actually thinking all three, but I don't know whether young children should be using their phones as much. So, but in that case, I would say first one.
Okay. Anybody else would like to answer?
I think there are a couple of guesses in the chat box.
All
Yeah,
right.
a few guesses there actually.
Probably not showing. Okay. Awesome. So all the people who have answered all three are correct.
Okay.
And it's because the first one is an example of permanent disability. Second is a temporary one. And the third one is a situational disability. That means we all experience disabilities of some kind at some point in our lives. Which means that designing inclusively does not only benefit the minority, but also the majority. Let me give you another example. So we've got closed captioning, but that is not just specifically designed for people who cannot hear. It is also, for example, I use it when I'm watching movies, and I find the accent a bit heavy and difficult to understand. Or even if some people in today's webinar are in a public space and there's a lot of noise in the background, so you might want to have the closed caption on just to hear and understand things better. So that just shows how having closed captioning is serving a wider need, and that is just making the design better. So we also mean different things when we say inclusivity. So I would encourage you again to, if you want to talk about it, if you want to raise your hand or use the chat box to tell us about what inclusivity means to you.
Yeah, Bolanle, is that an old hand or the new one?
Okay, I'll just try. I think it means doesn't have to be equal to everyone. Just you have to be. It has got to do with individual, what they need, and how to help them on what they need. Doesn't have to be equal to everyone involved.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Can we say inclusivity is a tailored approach as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, as I said, it could mean different things, and for different people, it could have a different meaning. Ensuring each person gets what they need to use the product in the way it is designed to use. Yeah, that is a nice way of putting it. Thanks, Alosh. Any other responses? I like that one as well.
Yeah, acknowledgement and accommodating.
Acknowledgement and accommodating people's
Yeah.
situation. Interesting. I'm getting really interesting answers here.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Last chance. Anybody would like to tell their responses? Awesome. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. Okay. So I'm a big advocate of inclusive design. And I firmly believe that embracing diversity strengthens equality, which is why in user research, I'm currently exploring the intersections of how similar we all are, even if we go about life differently. And how has that helped me as a designer? In my design process, I've become a lot more empathetic to the daily experience of different groups of people from all around the world, their values, their struggles, what they hold dear, and the things they cannot talk about. And there is no perfect right or wrong. So there are different ways of doing things, and it's okay if you want to do, or if your expectations are different from somebody else. So going forward, my mission is to use cultural intelligence along with Nika's aging intelligence, because that just helps me to get to the root cause of problems that might be overlooked otherwise from a cultural understanding perspective. And just to sum up, designing with care, that is everything that I talked about is what is covered in our Internet of Caring Things program, which is derived from IoT, Internet of Things, but with a more caring and meaningful direction to it. And it is really just a network of products and services that actively care for people, but also what people really care about. For example, pets, and how that can reflect on our health, well-being, and that of others. Or the connected things that helps engagement and creation of meaningful relationships, or even the things that add value to healthy aging and longevity in the form of prevention, support, and care. And all of this in the form of connected devices, which means our industry is not just limited to healthcare, as you can see here, because it's usually the perception of people when they first hear about Internet of Caring Things. But as you can see, it's very broad. We've got home and garden as well. We've worked with clients from education, pet tech, household care, financial services as well, mobility, and many more. So lastly, I would like to share a brief example of one of the clients I've worked with called SenseSmart. So SenseSmart is revolutionizing health tech with their UK's first multisensory interactive menu that incorporates visual, tactile, auditory, and olfactory stimulation to allow active engagement surrounding daily dietary constitution. And this also helps with people who might be going through malnourishment, or even when somebody is in a hospital setting, we've got stats where people don't really feel hungry. So the idea is, how can you change that, or how can you prevent that? So the team conducted a thorough business assessment, and we also presented SenseSmart's prototype in front of our voice advisory panel. And from all the feedback we got, we gave actionable insights to our client, which were then used to redesign their prototype. And you can actually view them live this week. They would be talking on BBC. I'm not sure about the timing, but I can share with you, Alosh, later so that you can share with the community as well. And that's it for today. If I were to summarize the essence of my whole presentation and the meaning that I'm trying to express, it's about humanness being at the heart of technology. And if any of you would like to contact me or my team members, I've included the contact details on the slide here. I will also put that in the description box just so that it's easier for you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Apurva. That was really interesting. We normally only have health-based speakers here, so it's actually quite different and quite interesting to hear someone coming from a tech point of view and then making sure how we can design something that's usable for everyone, especially with the cultural landscape that we work with as well.
Yeah, awesome. I think that was really special for me to be in this, present to this community from a cultural angle as well, because I think it's so important and it can be easily overlooked as well.
Thanks, Apurva. So I think it's time for question and answers. Please feel free to ask any question. Apurva will be more than happy to address all your questions and concerns. While you're doing that, you have the opportunity to unmute, use the mic, or put it in the chat box. I have a question, Apuva.
Yes.
I just want you to share your experience with us regarding the level of engagement and uptake from the Black and South Asian communities when it comes to Internet of Care, you know? So the confidence, their level of knowledge and understanding on how to access such services, what has been like, you know, from your own perspective, and what are the things we need to consider in, I mean, enabling them to access such resources and facilities?
Yeah, I think it's really about building awareness first. Like there are so many opportunities out here. For example, the one I spoke about, the work we do here, like just try to get more and more engaged, because how we are moving forward with design is really through co-design. We don't want to design everything just having assumptions. So if you could be part of these communities, and I believe a lot of people here are from academic and research background, which is exactly what like you guys have the expertise and the professional knowledge of it. And I think one great thing I've experienced in attending any such workshop is that there is no judgment in the environment. So if you have got any concerns about how, if you're the only South Asian or person in that room, it wouldn't be like you would be overlooked, or people might be like, oh, that's got a different opinion. Actually, that's what we really are there for. We want to hear that, because that's something we don't hear otherwise, which is why I was saying that I would highly encourage all of you to just maybe try it out and see how you feel about it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thanks, Apuva. So this is quite different from what we have in the past. You know, speakers come and give L talks, but I kind of like the fact that there's a need to pay attention and also to engage our community members on how to, you know, access, not just access, also to build their level of confidence. Because looking from my own personal perspective, my parents are in the 70s, and I realize that sometimes my mom called me to, you know, to attend to some of the functions on our phone, you know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some tech, you know, services that I also shy away from, even though. So I feel that level of awareness of the need to access such resources, if it's available, is really key within our community.
Yeah. And there's a very famous quote, I'm forgetting the full name of the person, it's Steve something. And he says, people ignore design that ignores people.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
The designers, we are not designing for ourselves.
Yeah.
It is for you all. So, you know, we need to hear from you. What are your needs?
Yeah. So it's just similar to the project myself and Alosh just recently. We're almost completing the family BYC and other projects I'm involved in. I think the world is moving now to co-creation approach involving the actual users, a sort of a user-centric approach of designing things. Definitely. So we need people who will use such services to be co-creators of designing such services.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of colleagues, collaborators here on Grant. I want to seize the opportunity to call out names. I have Dr. Unduka here, who is, a researcher from Coventry University and also a lecturer there. I have some other lists, but Unduka, do you want to like introduce yourself? You know what you do, and let's seize the opportunity to hear from you as well.
Well, thank you, Fatia. I think you've mentioned it all. So I'm a researcher at Coventry Uni. So I do most of my work in cardiometabolic diseases, developing lifestyle interventions for people with cardiometabolic problems. I've done a lot of co-creation work in the past. So most of the things which we've heard, I can relate. And I think I've also got some links with the Newcastle Innovation Observatory and aging and all of that work with a lot of people there before. So yeah, it's really interesting to be around here. Yeah,
that's great. I also actually studied with my master's from Coventry University.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
So guys, please ask questions, comment. We are all co-creators, you know. We are all stakeholders.
Absolutely.
So please ask
I agree.
questions. Apuva is here to address all your concerns.
I think Giselle has a hand up as well.
Yeah.
Um, Hello, Apuva. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have worked with a charity here in Leicester that goes around GP surgeries, actually teaching people how to use the NHS app. And I know you mentioned that we cannot, like, maybe create an app or an innovation that fully includes everybody to 100%. So do you think there's a role for training officers like myself who like go into the community and help people and teach them the way to use the various apps that are available? Or do we just like stick to the plan of maybe creating something that is that is inclusive to all of the population?
Good question, Gazelle. So I think how I like to approach it is that you start with a more focused approach. So you take your target audience and you pick like the main sets of people who would be mainly using the product, the app. And then when you go to testing, you test it with a wider range. So you extend your range there and then you get more answers. So then you go into the iteration cycle afterwards. Because if you start too broad, you might get lost in when you're like designing the functionalities, going into the depth. So it's always useful to first have a more focused approach. And I think testing is a really great place where you don't have any boundaries. You just ask people to use the app and see how they respond. It's just interesting how differently people respond to different, like the same product. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And I was actually thinking how important is language in this, because that's that could be a real barrier for people, especially even within the UK, when you have the newer community members and older community members using existing things. Like, so you mentioned banks. As more high street banks are closing, how important is language in there? How can we actually incorporate that into the social system? Is it designing new products? Is it working with the community? Like Giselle said, is it like a few community leaders or community members teaching their community members how to use certain products, or is it designing new things specifically for language speakers, different language speakers? How can we address the problem of language barrier?
Yeah, I think because I know I'm from India and sometimes I get lost in translation. You cannot translate everything. And so we've got AI nowadays, and a lot of people are trying to automate processes. But I feel like language is something which still has AI cannot fully translate, at least as of now. So I think even within our company, we've got, I think it's really important to bring those leaders, as you mentioned, from all of those different communities to, again, be in the part of co-design. So if they can help us with what it's called UX writing. So copywriting is also a very big part of UX design, because it has to be very clear. You can't just have really long and very boring or just very confusing text, even call to actions like submit or this and that. So I think you can bring leaders from all of these different communities and countries or different cultures, and then they can help you sort of translate, but also convert your design in which is more meaningful for their culture. Because I think in different cultures, we've got different nuances that you wouldn't understand unless you are from that culture. So no assumptions there. Like, we should just bring those people and really ask them. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I think Elias has got his hand up as well.
Yeah, Elias.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank
Good
you,
afternoon.
Apura, for your wonderful presentation. Recently, there is widespread concern about people's privacy in terms of IT and integration of different technology. I'd like you to address that. Is it possible with the idea you are projecting to ensure that people's privacy are secured? Because especially in Africa, we have so much concern about privacy. And I'll talk about an experience I had recently. I was actually applying for a particular service, and I was asked whether I would like to have my video camera used. So in fact, I had to withdraw from the application because I do not know why they were asking for that. So please, can you address it?
Yeah, I think there's no harm in always asking and like just asking simply about if I can, turn off this or that. I think with data, like I think um, first of all, with these apps and websites, they've got all the data protection policy right there. So I think it's a good practice to always just look for that when you're not sure about that platform. And with an example you mentioned, if you can ask the people that if it's okay because you're concerned about so and so things. So is it okay for it to do it? Because I think with how data is growing, I think every company knows that they have to start getting mindful. Otherwise, they're gonna lack trust in their target audience. And I think sometimes it's funny, it's almost funny when we ask people about data sharing. So if I tell them that, okay, we've got this voucher and would you like to sign up to this app and, just start using it, and that's it. You don't have to like be an active consumer user, and they would be happy to do it just because there's a voucher. But then if we don't give them anything and if we just ask them, do you want to use it? And they're like, okay, but like, what are the data concerns? So I think there's really interesting different perceptions of data, but I think every company legally they have to upfront like provide their data protection policy. So I would recommend whenever you're using, even from your phone or your laptop, just try to like check that it's somewhere in the corner, underlined, bold. It's just hiding somewhere there, but it's definitely there. Does that help answering your question, Elias?
Yeah, I just want to chip in something. So if you want to ask questions, please feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, your ongoing project. This is a knowledge exchange platform. We're not just receiving from here. We also want to learn from you. We want to know what you're doing. So Elias, you want to tell us what you're doing, your ongoing work, and probably we could find some network, you could build on your network from here. So any other person, please feel free to share your ongoing projects with the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Fatia. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I am Ilyas Yakub. I am a researcher and also currently running a PhD in exercise and sports science at the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. So my area is exercise virtualization and programming, where I integrate the use of computer applications to provide exercise programs and improve physical activity for individuals of different categories. Currently, I'm working on an app to capture people's needs such that it will be highly adaptive to people's needs. Just like you were talking about inclusion the other time, I'm also thinking about that, so that every individual who comes across the app will find a benefit from it. And there are other things that can also be done with the apps. Talk about data collection and using it for analyzing people's data and giving them instant feedback and suggestions on their physical activity, health, and general well-being. So then I also do a lot of statistical analysis. I've gotten some stuffs from different certification organizations such as IBM, Cisco, and all that. So that's just a summary of what I do.
Thanks, Alosh.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I think Giselle also has her hand up. I think you're muted, Giselle.
Thank you very much, Alosh. I had one more question.
Sorry, Giselle. Did I just say thanks, Alosh? Thanks, Ilya. Sorry. Alosh, you've caught. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
I just put the thanks
Thanks, Ilya.
Okay. You during your presentation, you did mention coming together in a gray area to like make improvement designs or apps that we want to see in the future. But I wanted to ask about the role of advocacy also, because as much as we might be in a gray area, like bringing in ideas to create apps and all of that, the bigger companies or the bigger institutions in our areas don't have they don't have, I don't think they have enough people in those spaces that speak about the inclusivity of different people, of different like making the app accessible to various people. So do you think does the organization shout out for advocacy in that respect?
Yeah, are there any specific organizations that you're talking about, Giselle?
I mean, like bank apps where people, the people that create the bank apps, I don't think they have they take into consideration the inclusivity that we mentioned here, or even the NHS app or any other big organizations here that create apps that are important for the day-to-day use of the normal population.
Yeah, I think there's so many examples out there, which is why we are really trying to encourage more and more businesses to join us and see the value of why inclusive design is so important. And I think because everything's being shared online so much, I think online reviews are also a great place where people could just share their reviews and see that, oh, they had actually a bad experience, because then that gets directly linked to the company. And when they know and they understand that, oh, actually, we're seeing this as a pattern, so let's see how we can do it. Because a lot of companies like Google, Microsoft, now they've got their own material library where they talk about accessible guidelines, WCAG, like. So I think companies are trying to get there. It's just a big process, because it's not like, okay, you're going to crack one design which is going to be best. It's just like life. It has to be iterative, and it's a process, and we all are evolving every 5 years nowadays. So it's just like, I think, yeah, you could just find products that are better. Like, I think a lot of startups nowadays, like all the businesses that come to us, they might offer something similar to bigger companies, but in a more meaningful way. So, I think I really like to support small businesses as well, personally. So that could be one of your ways to do it. But again, no pressure. Just what's there.
I think so. We've got two more people asking questions. But
Yeah.
while we're doing that, Giselle, do you want to ask the questions to the poll, and then we can? So the idea is that we can also get some feedback from the attendees, and hopefully, we found the session very useful, but be really good for us to know as well. So while the next questions are happening, we'll do that. So I think Damiola and Duka, yes.
Yeah. And so just to chip this in, we have 8 minutes to end this webinar. After that, I think we'll hold on to attend to question and answers for now. You have Apuva's email, you have my email and Alosh's email. If you wish to, ask further questions, feel free to email any one of us. So Danny, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Fatia. Thank you, Apuva, for an interesting conversation. Yeah, I've had several aha moments since we began. Thank you for this eye-opening session. Yeah, you mentioned that we are living longer, but not necessarily better. Yeah, so that was an aha moment for me, because one reason why this happens is epidemiological transition. So my question is, are there use cases to your ongoing projects that you want to share with us? That's one. And then are there, for instance, online internship opportunities that your company offer to prospective candidates? if possible?
Yeah, so we've got like everything on our website. So if there are any openings, I'll also share the UK National Innovation Centre for Aging's website, because they usually have like, that's basically the bigger company. And then we've got all of these smaller IOCT voice under that. So you can check the website regularly and see. And I think if you come and join the voice community, you could like very closely see our process. So that could be maybe a starting point for you if you're really interested in research. I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Yeah, examples of use cases of your ongoing projects, if any.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of NDAs as well. So I think I'm going to share this link, and this link has case studies which are not protected by NDAs. Sorry, one second.
So just to let you know, when we're sharing the video recording, we will share all these links to you all. I hope we all have your email addresses. If we don't have it, please, could you put it in the chat as well, so that we have like a list of attendees and we'll be able to share that across to you.
Yes. Similarly, obviously, the Voice Network and Nika are also looking for new members for their platform. So it'd be great if you could put your emails, and then if that's okay with you, I can share it with Apurva and her team. And then if you're interested in joining the Voice Network, and also, Voice Network and shaping the future for us, that would be really great if you could put that on the chat box.
Yeah. So one other thing that pops into my mind now, Alosh, is why not we set up a ALIBSA community whereby people can put in their, they can show their interest by joining the community. We can share links, approve all our speakers, and people can actually identify collaborators, potential mentors,
Yes.
So I feel we would work on that. And believe me, before our next webinar, ALIBSA community will be settled. Right, Alosh?
Yes.
That would be great.
I think Induka, you also have a question. You're on mute.
So my question is going to be very brief, and it's to you, Apova. So I know Voice Global is very proactive in terms of getting people to participate in research, and you can get the user requirements that you need. But a lot of Black people and South Asians may not have access to voice except through platforms like this where information is shared. How do you try to bridge that gap and get more, ethnic minorities participating in your designs?
I think we've got a big network of similar communities, and what we try to do through our socials, and which is why I also shared our social as well. And my community manager, they also share all of these interesting similar opportunities. So although we are trying to do it, but our people on socials also try this to signpost people. So if you follow them, I think you'll just keep getting updated. And I'm sure there are more like subscription on our website as well. So we really help our clients with signposting as well, and same for voice members. And when you go to our voice website, there will be an opportunities section. So we've got like regular opportunities coming in. Sometimes it's with Newcastle University because we are linked with them. And sometimes it's to do with the businesses that we work with. So if any opportunity sounds like, that's something that you would like to contribute to, you could just participate. You could like register your interest, and then we go through the interests. Yeah.
Great.
So thank you so much for all your questions and answers. Thanks, Apurva. Thank you very much. I know it took you a lot of time, preparing for this. Thank you very much for this brilliant presentation, and it's also thought-provoking as well. So I want to sort of give you an idea of who our next presenter will be. That is Temilola Adeniyi. I think she's also here. And the topic for the next webinar will be to explore barriers to access and uptake of sexually transmitted infection testing and services in the Black community. That's STI. And that will be on the 24th of April from the same time, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. And that is the flyer there. We're going to share the flyer across to you all. As soon as we set up the community, and I guess we would have some work to do with the ALIBSA team, we will share the flyer across to you. We will share the joining link. We want to seize this opportunity to thank you all for attending. We want to especially thank Apuva, our speaker. We also want to thank our next speaker well ahead of time. We do hope we would have a great representation by next week. But before I leave, I want to introduce the ALIBSA team to you. I am Fatiha Niyodumosu, the founder of ALIBSA. ALIBSA is the Aging Lifestyle in Black and South Asian. And I have here with me my brother, my colleague, my friend, ALIBSA body. That's Alosh Josie. You can see him there. Alosh, wave your hand. And Giselle, wave your hand as well as Deji. Switch on your camera, let the audience see you, and probably introduce yourselves as well. These are the ALIBSA team. Abolanle Adesope has also been so supportive. Please switch on your camera, Abolanle. Thank you very much for all your support. And yeah, I think I'll rest my case now. I will hand over to Alosh.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation, Apurva. That was really interesting for me as well. You know, we worked together on a project, so that was also quite interesting to see how everything's working in the background and how wider impacts of your work and Nika's work as well. And thank you all for joining the webinar. Hopefully, it was really useful. I think based on the number of questions we had, we are running out of time, so that was really interesting and hopefully all your questions were answered. And my name is Alosh, so I'm the co-host of the webinar. So I am a managing director for Cricket Cube, which is a social enterprise that delivers accessible cricket sessions across Northeast. We've been working with Dr. Fatia for a while now, for at least more than 2 years. So we have done the family cricket sessions, but we have also doing other sessions. We work especially with older adults and ethnic minorities. So yeah, thank you for all coming. And then yeah, Giselle.
Thank you, Alosh, and thank you everyone for coming for this webinar. Before we leave, I just wanted to ask a few questions just to get your feedback on the presentation. So it will just take about 1 minute for each poll. There are 3 polls that I'm going to launch. The first question is, how did you learn about the webinar? Was it word to mouth? Was it through social media or through other? Please send in your votes, and I'm going to be ending the poll very early. So just a couple of seconds.
Sorry, I don't want you to miss out this. The great work Cricket Cube has been doing in the past and ongoing work as well. Before we end the session, listen to that.
This is the work we are doing with Parkinson's UK in Newcastle. We've started delivering sessions for people with Parkinson's about 3 months ago, and we have seen like some amazing improvements in people's lives. One of the gentlemen who's batting there, his grip strength has gone from 10.3 to more than 15. So that's like 50% increase in people's strength and stability, etc. So that's the kind of impact that we have in the community, and then we want to continue that forward as well.
So this brings us to the end of this presentation and this webinar. So we will see you all next month. Thank you so much. Keep sharing the link.
So much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
As you all go, you can vote as well, and then you can leave at that point. I suppose that's it. Thank you so much. I'll end the meeting now, and then yeah, thank you all for coming, and then see you next month.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.